Hey everybody, 480 Sparky here. I thought I'd do a little tutorial about why you want to shoot in color even though you know you want the final image to be in black and white. The reason's very simple. If you let the camera do the conversion, it's a conversion that was designed by some engineer in a foreign country who knows how long ago that really has no interest in how your images are rendered in the grayscale. When you shoot in color and convert it in your software to black and white, you've got a lot more control. For those of you who shoot film or used to shoot film, you'll recognize these. It's a set of colored filters. These are not used for color balance or white balance. They're used for affecting how the different shades or colors of the spectrum are rendered in shades of gray in a black and white image. For instance, if you had a green subject and you wanted to make it a brighter part of the image in a grayscale, you'd put on a green filter. That would allow more green light through and less of the other colors of the spectrum and make the green lighter and the other colors darker. Now these filters are available in all different sizes and colors of the spectrum, and you can get them in different shades as well. You're not limited to just a green. You can get a light green, a medium green, a dark green, a pale green, a very dark green. You can also get them in the square filters to slide into the holders that like Lee and Koken make. You can also get them in a graduated color that goes from a color to clear. I've also seen some exotic versions where there might be a green to a red. I'm sure they're very pricey. And I can remember in my film days when I shot black and white, I had like 15 or 16 different color filters available. And that's outside of the white balance filters that I would use for shooting like Kodachrome 25 in fluorescent or incandescent lighting. Got rather expensive to purchase all those filters for just a specialized purpose. Now, a specific use for colored filter in black and white photography is, let's say you want to render this in a black and white image. You're shooting film, you've got black and white film in, and you're looking at the sky and thinking that sky is going to come up awful light gray as it did here. In order to correct that, and you want to make this sky darker, you put on a yellow filter which blocks the blue light and renders the blue sky a darker shade of gray and makes your image pop a little bit more. Now we can replicate this in the digital world. I use Nikon's Capture NX2 for most of my processing. It has a black and white conversion system built into it. And with this system I can duplicate all those colored filters that I spent all that money on. I could have easily paid for this right here. What this allows me to do is change the filter color to any color of the rainbow, and the filter strength. I can have a very light filter or a medium filter or a very, very dark filter. So using this color wheel, I'm going to convert it to black and white, and most people will think, well, the green will come up the brightest, the red will come out medium, and the blue will come out dark gray. Not exactly what you were expecting, was it? That's simply because I have a yellow filter, and it's turned up quite a bit. But you can see as I change basically the filter that the camera is using in front of the lens, I can change how the colors of gray are rendered in the final image. I can also adjust the strength of the filter. I can either have a very pale filter or I can have a very dark filter and really crank up some of the colors or the grayscales or dial them back. This is the control that you have converting colors to black and white when you do it in your computer as opposed to your camera. Let's take this a step further and let's go to a full spectrum. Let's convert this to black and white. Now ideally this should be rendered pretty much all the same gray, except I have a filter in front of it. Now if I dial this down to 0, you can see that my filter hue makes no difference because it really has no color. But if I change my color up, my strength up a little bit, I can affect how those colors are rendered in shades of gray. If I crank it all the way up, I almost get a very contrasty image depending on where I set my filter hue. Now you're probably thinking, what's that got to do with the real world when you're dealing with color wheels? Well, let's go to a real world image. I chose this photograph because it's got red, yellow, blue, and green in it. Let's convert that to a black and white using a yellow filter. Because the filter is yellow, it lets most of the yellow light through and very little of the blue. So these windows in the background, which were blue, and this blue figure in the back are rendered dark. If I want to reverse that, I simply bring my filter up to a blue. Now my blue figure and the windows are lighter and the red and the yellow are darker. I can also change the strength and really accentuate that and bring that middle or rear figure in this sculpture out, which is something that would not happen if you let the camera do that decision for you. So just by these two sliders, I can do a lot of creative things in my images when I convert them to black and white. In fact, if I wanted to, I could make them look all the same shade of gray to make the viewer think they're all the same color, when in fact they really aren't. So that's why you want to do your black and white conversions with your software as opposed to in your camera, because you have absolute and complete control over how your image is rendered in the grayscale.